Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever heard the phrase, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression? Raise your hands if that sounds familiar. Yes. What do you think? Do you think it's true? It is. But here's the real question. How long do you think you have to make a good first impression? Take a guess. 10 seconds, you wish. 3, still too much. 2, yes, 2 seconds. It was originally an MIT study confirmed by the Harvard School of Health Sciences. Across cultures, across hemispheres, we tend to judge each other in a little under 2 seconds. Why? By the way, did they tell you this was a participative session? There's no Q&A at the end. If you ask a question, just know that there is a chance I'll pull you up on stage because sometimes it's easier to demonstrate. I've got a couple of friends in the audience, so if no one is a volunteer, I'll drag them up. They will regret our friendship immediately. In this session, just shout things out. I can't really see you, so go for it. What? Why do you think that we judge each other in 2 seconds? Defense mechanism, yes, survival. Is everyone in this room comfortable with the word evolution? You joke, but I have been in conferences when I asked that question and people were not, to which my reaction, of course, was, oh God, what do I say next? So yes, our instincts have at least 100,000-year lag time on our environment. And if you think of it, most of our instincts are still better adapted to tribal times. And if you think of more primitive cultures, back then we often only had 2 seconds to decide if the shape cruising into our field of vision was animate or inanimate, human or non-human, friend or foe, basically fight, flight, or relax. Those who could make those split-second decisions accurately survived, thrived, multiplied, and produced us. And those who couldn't ended up as somebody else's protein snack. Today, we're still judging people in under 2 seconds. So what do we look at? If I walk on stage or I walk into the room, what do you think people look at? We're in fight or flight here. Dress. Well, yes, but right now, when I say fight or flight, it's really fight or flight. The question in the back of our minds is, if we were to meet in a dark alley, who would win in a fight? So what do you think people look at to determine that? Gender, absolutely. Size, thank you. There's one last one. Height, let's put that in the general size. Size being the, is it a big gorilla or is it a small gorilla? Can I throw him out the room or will he toss me out the window? Gender, yes, it is a biological fact that most women are less strong than most men. Size, gender, one last one to determine brute strength. Color will come in the friend or foe. Come on, people. Beauty. Beauty is a really important characteristic for friend or foe. Right now, it's just who would win in a fight. You can, thank you. You can tell it's a young audience. Age. If he's 86 and I'm 22, I'm going to have a much better chance of survival than if it's the other way around. Yeah, size, age, gender. So that's fight or flight. Now we're talking friend or foe. What do people look at to determine if you're a friend or a foe? First thing, level of attraction. Level of attraction will come into play, but usually we only start thinking about that once we've already determined friend or foe. Facial expressions will be important, but first of all, 80% of our body is covered in, who said hair? Clothing, thank you. Yes, clothing is nothing but tribal wear. IBM used to tell its people, you can wear anything you want as long as it's a blue suit, white shirt, red tie. Yeah. American Express realized that they could send their sales of credit cards going through the roof when they sent their salespeople to college campuses dressed like college students. And then they went a step further. They didn't just dress them like college students, they hired college students. Yeah, clothing is nothing but tribal wear. So, clothing. Now let's talk body language. Now, what I want you to realize is, you realize just how much information has been communicated? We haven't even said a single word yet. Body language. I know that you hear all the time just how important body language is. What you might not realize is how hugely important it is. What I mean by that, there was a really interesting study at the MIT Media Lab by which they had a pretty good accuracy rate in predicting the outcome of negotiations, sales calls, and business plan pitches without listening to a single word of content, just by analyzing the facial expressions and the voice fluctuations of the person pitching. So next time that it's 2 a.m. and you're stressing out about which word to put on that PowerPoint presentation, realize that you're stressing out about, at most, 15% of the communication. And the thing to know about body language is that there is way too much body language for you to control consciously. Here's what I mean. Were you aware of your eyelids fluttering in front of your eyes? How about the position of your toes? Could you feel the weight of your tongue in your mouth? Have you forgotten your eyelids again? Every second, we are sending out tons of signals. And the thing is, there's way too much information for us to be able to control consciously. Let me give you an example. Close your eyes for a second. No cheating, close your eyes. All right. Imagine a lemon. Imagine biting into the lemon and then biting into a lime and trying to see which is most sour. Now, imagine running your fingers through a bucket of sand. And now, drag your fingernails across chalkboard. Right, you can open your eyes. Of course, there was no lemon, no lime, no sand, and there certainly was no chalkboard. And yet, for many of you, your body produced very real physical reactions to a completely imaginary event. And that is how you control body language. So, you're about to make a first impression. You know how your tribal wear should go. You have an idea of general body language should be open and positive. What does that mean? What does nice, open, warm, welcoming body language look like? Stand up. And could we have the stage lights a tiny bit dimmer? I just need to be able to see their faces a bit more. Thank you, that's awesome. Okay, guys. Right, so, body language. Show me confidence. What does confidence look like? Yeah, many of you are doing this instinctively. What a lot of you are doing automatically is putting your hands on your hips or your hands behind your back. What you're essentially doing is you're taking up space. The reason for that is, imagine a gorilla. Big gorilla in the jungle, a rival has just breached his territory. The gorilla wants to intimidate the rival off his territory. What does the gorilla do? Show me. Yeah, why does he do that? Because it makes him look bigger. It's taking up space, both physically and in sound. It turns out that alpha humans do exactly the same thing. Alpha humans tend to, they'll put their arm on one chair, they'll sit on the chair, they'll put their feet on a third chair. We take up space. So, extend your arms to the ceiling. Awesome. Sides of the room, slap your neighbor, that's fine. Okay. And now, put your hands behind your back. A lot of people think of this as a classic military pose. There's a reason. One, you can stay in it for a long time, but also, you're taking up more space. what's happening inside your body right this very minute, this is called an expansive pose, and there are actual chemical changes happening to your bloodstream. Show me what nervousness looks like. Lack of confidence. Okay, that also would have an effect on your bloodstream in the exact chemicals that are going through it. Okay. We're going to do this really participatory. My God, less than half the time gone. Okay, can you please find someone in the room you do not like? I'm kidding. Turn towards your neighbor. Pick a neighbor. Figure it out. Face each other, not me. All right. You got your neighbor? All right, face each other. Face each other. And this is going to be a crash course in facial expression decryption. Look at them. Look at their face. The facial expression they have right now, we're going to call that base neutral. You've seen what their face looks like? Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine a problem at work. Something that's really pissing you off. Think of something that could go pretty horribly wrong. Open your eyes, look at them. Close your eyes again. Close your eyes. Can you please think of something or someone for whom you have great affection? Now, this could be a person, this could be a pet, this could even be a stuffed animal. And feel the warmth, the affection. Feel how much they mean to you. Open your eyes and look at them. How many of you saw a difference in their face? Raise your hands. Okay, where did you see the biggest difference? Where did you see the biggest difference? In the eyes. What are the eyes? How many of you are thinking the window to the soul? You are absolutely correct, it is. Here's why. The area around the eyes is the most mobile of the entire human face, thus the most expressive, which is why poker players often wear. Exactly. In studies where participants were asked to stare deeply into one another's eyes, what happens when two human beings stare deeply into one another's eyes? They fall in love. Well, close. When two human beings look deeply into one another's eyes, there's an adrenaline-like substance called phenylethylamine, or PEA, that goes gushing through their bloodstream and yours. And it is the same chemical that produces a phenomenon we do call love at first sight. When participants were asked to stare at each other and count the number of times the other person blinked, obviously the researchers didn't care about the blinks. What they wanted was to get strangers looking at each other without feeling self-conscious. After just a few minutes of the exercise, most participants reported increased affection and some even passionate feelings for one another. So obviously, you don't want to overdo it, but if you've heard people say of Clinton, for example, that he had this kind of deep, soul-searching eye contact, that's how. All right, you get to sit down again, but don't get too comfortable. So, oh, you know what? Let's start getting volunteers. Right. Those of you who don't want to be dragged up on stage, don't ask questions, because there's a fair chance that I'll say, you know what, come up here and I can show. You're in your tribal wear. You've had a wonderful first impression. What happens next when you go up to meet someone? You introduce yourself. What do you do when you introduce yourself in most Western cultures? You shake hands. Why do we shake hands? To show we don't have a weapon. Can I have a volunteer up on stage, please? I promise it won't hurt much. Awesome, thank you. Round of applause for this brave girl who doesn't know what she's getting into. Her name is Julie, awesome. All right, so the reason that we usually shake or show the right hand is indeed to show that our weapon hand is unarmed. Handshakes first appeared in Egyptian frescoes. They then morphed into Roman arm clasp. Essentially, this is no daggers in the sleeves, okay. And then the medieval knights added a shake. No daggers in the sleeves, no daggers hidden up the sleeves, good to go. Today, of course, we have the handshake. Now, because what we want to show is that we're not hiding anything, what you want maximum palm contact, so on a gut level, they feel that you're not hiding anything. So, find another stranger. Up you go find a stranger. It's okay if it's someone that you like, that's fine. All right, guys. Before we show what a good handshake is, what's a bad handshake? Yeah, the dead fish. Just so we're all clear, can you please turn towards your partner and give each other a dead fish handshake? Go ahead. Just so we're clear, you never, ever, ever want to give that kind of a handshake. People will get over a handshake that is too firm. They will not get over a handshake that's too weak. I don't care if it's man, woman, or beast. All right, so for a good handshake, you're going to keep your palm convex, not concave. Then you kind of wrap your fingers. That's very good. Don't break your wrist to keep it straight. That's very good. Okay, you're going to try two things. Try a handshake with palm contact, maximum palm contact, and then try a handshake without palm contact and see if you can feel the difference. Go for it. Okay, give me your handshake again. That's very good. Yep, up the grip a tiny bit. Perfect. That's it. You're very pretty, and you're a girl. So you're going to have to overcompensate with a stronger handshake than normal. Okay. Did it feel like a difference for everyone, the with and without? Okay, so last couple of things. You want to give a straight-handed handshake. No dominant handshake, she's giving me a dominant. No submissive handshake. No two-handed politician's handshake. Now, I'm often asked why. It's one of those things, just like if you'd read Dale Carnegie in 1926, I think, when he said a man's name is the sweetest. Stop. Okay, freeze. She was warned. Let's talk body language. Julie is delightful, and she's pretty, and she's a girl. Get back to exactly how you were. Cross those feet. All right, what's Julie doing? What Julie is telling us is, in typical female fashion, what we do tend to do is, I'm not a threat, and I'm likable, so can you please like me, because I promise I'm not going to hurt you. Take up bloody space. Your living room, your turf, better. Atta girl. Do you play sport, any kind?
I used to play soccer.
You have no excuse. All right. Pink sweater, what's your name? The back of the room. Yes. Speak it up. Kay. So you see that Kay back there? You're going to tell her that the sky is blue, and I'm going to want her to hear that. Tell Kay the sky is blue.
The sky is blue.
All right, we're going to talk projection. So it's going to come from here.
Okay.
And think of like throwing your voice. It could be volume, but it doesn't even have to be.
Okay.
I want your voice to expand into the room and take over.
The sky is blue.
You know what? It doesn't. I hope they'll forgive me. All right. Okay. So, pure volume. The sky is blue. That's volume. Projection. The sky is blue. Okay, was it easier to hear the second one? Okay. So you're going to throw your voice from here to K.
The sky is blue.
Is that good? All right. The sound mics may not forgive me. Okay. So, Julie, this is something I usually do in class, by the way. What's your job?
I'm undergrad. I'm in school.
Okay. This is your audience. This is your turf, your living room.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell them a story about a dishwasher.
Okay.
Now, this wasn't supposed to be in the talk, but guess what? Bonus. When your audience walks into a room, Just because they're in the room doesn't mean that they're not thinking about the 15 or 16 different things that were, right? Most audiences are multitasking. There's a reason the New York Times is officially written so that a 10th grader could understand it. It's because, did you hear about this study where pot smokers and multitaskers were put against each other? Who do you think won? The pot smokers. So I want you to imagine that your audience, pot smoking 10th graders, awesome. Okay? So when you think of 10th graders, you know what? Let's dumb it down even a bit more. They're 4-year-olds. Okay. Think of 4-year-olds. What kind of stories do they like?
Creative, imaginative stories.
Dragons, princesses, etc. Yes. Right? Yes. You're going to tell the story of the dishwasher like you're telling a fairy tale. Go.
Okay. So there's a dishwasher, and it lost its door. So it's looking for its mate, but it can't find the door. And so it's like crawling around the house.
All right. Julie is smart, and so she's used to relying on her words to communicate attention, drama, etc., which is good. Let's give you some other fuel. Okay. Remember the MIT study? It was the voice fluctuation. So when you're giving your audience a story, the only proper way to load a dishwasher is to open the door. And then you're going to pull out the bottom rack. It doesn't matter what I say, because humans tend to rely on the pacing. Alpha humans also, they take up space between their sentences. Slow down. Okay. You know what? We're so badly out of time, I have to apologize. Julie, you were awesome. Thank you. So my apologies, we skipped about, I don't know, lots of the talk, but let me leave you with this. I know I was supposed to talk about charisma. I didn't get around to it. Sorry. Let me give you the book in one sentence. You don't need to buy it. Charisma is not innate. It can be learned. It's a learned behavior. Let me leave you with this one principle. People usually assume that charisma is, let's see, is this better? Yeah. That charisma is how you make people feel about you. That's true, but only in a small degree. Mainly, charisma is how you make people feel about themselves. Have you ever been in a conversation when only half your mind was present while the other half was busy doing something else? Never. I have a room full of Buddhist monks. Do you think the other person noticed? Yeah. Even if on a conscious level they didn't notice, humans are outstanding at catching what's called micro and subtle expressions. It flashes in 17 milliseconds across your face. But if you're not fully present in the conversation, there's a good chance that your facial expressions will glaze over, your eyes will glaze over, and your facial expression will be a split-second delayed. And people will catch that. And on a gut level, they're going to feel that something's off, something's not quite right. So, when you're in a conversation and you feel your mind is wandering, a good way to get yourself back to the moment, feel your toes right now. Feel the physical sensations in your toes. What that does is that it forces your brain to scan your body from head to, of course, toe, and gets you very physically present in the moment. I think that's the last tip for the day. Thank you very much.